tell me, are you ready to see the world as it truly is, not as it was handed to you? Because once you step through this door, there is no turning back. Machiavelli was not merely a politician or a strategist, he was an anatomist of the human soul. His words, so often misunderstood, carry a truth so raw it can terrify those who prefer to live within the safety of illusions. But if you stay, you will discover why understanding these principles can give you a silent power, a dangerous one. Write in the comments, "I want to see the truth," if you're ready to face what few dare to confront. Subscribe, like this video, and stay until the end, because the revelation awaiting you will forever change the way you read the hearts of men. In the 16th century, Italy was not a unified nation, but a chessboard of warring city-states, each ruled by families who played power like a ruthless game. Niccolò Machiavelli, a Florentine diplomat, watched this game from the inside. He saw alliances born and broken in a single breath, loyalty traded for influence, and morality sacrificed for survival. His masterpiece, The Prince, was not a guide for the noble. It was a mirror held up to the nature of power itself. And that mirror did not flatter. Machiavelli revealed that influence is rarely the reward of virtue, but of understanding human weakness. This was why his words were feared and condemned. Yet beneath the stigma lies a map, a guide to navigating the silent wars of ambition that still shape our world today. To understand Machiavelli is to accept a truth that most people will spend their entire lives running from. The world is not governed by justice, kindness, or fairness, but by perception, manipulation, and strength. People cling to the illusion that life rewards the good, that honesty is always respected, that virtue is its own armor. But Machiavelli, with a ruthless clarity, stripped away these comforting lies. He argued that men are not guided by morality as much as by self-interest, fear, and desire. This is why he said it is safer for a ruler to be feared than loved, because love is fragile, but fear, properly managed, is reliable. Yet the brilliance of Machiavelli lies not in cynicism, but in his ability to describe how humans truly behave, not how we wish they behaved. And once you see the truth of human nature, you can no longer unsee it. Think of your daily life. Every workplace, every classroom, every group of friends has its own balance of power. There are those who lead, those who follow, and those who pretend not to play the game at all. Yet even silence, even passivity, is a move in this game. To deny power is to surrender it to someone else. This is what Machiavelli understood so well. Power is not reserved for kings and rulers. It exists wherever humans gather. And most of the time, those who hold it are not the kindest, the smartest, or the most deserving. They are the ones who dare to see beyond appearances, who are willing to act when others hesitate, who use perception like a weapon. Machiavelli reminds us that human beings are inconsistent. They will praise honesty while secretly rewarding cunning. They will demand compassion but admire strength. They will celebrate justice but follow whoever offers them protection or advantage. To navigate this contradiction, one must learn what Machiavelli called virtù. Do not mistake this for virtue in the moral sense. Virtù is not about being good. It is about being effective. It is the art of shaping fortune with courage, cunning, and decisiveness. It is the force that allows an individual to bend the chaos of the world to his will. Without it, you are left at the mercy of fortuna, the unpredictable waves of fate. Ask yourself, how often have you felt powerless because you played by rules that others ignored? How often have you assumed that effort and sincerity would be enough, only to be overlooked by someone who knew how to speak the right words, strike the right image, or plant the right seed of doubt. This is the painful lesson Machiavelli forces us to confront. Effectiveness matters more than intention. History is filled with noble men who were destroyed because they were virtuous but naive, while cunning men, hated in their time, carved empires that lasted centuries. But Machiavelli also understood another paradox. Power must be visible, but not obvious. A ruler, or anyone who wields influence, must learn to wear masks. He must appear merciful while being capable of cruelty, appear generous while protecting his own interests, appear trustworthy while knowing when betrayal serves a higher purpose. This is not hypocrisy, it is strategy. People judge by appearances because they cannot see into the heart. Therefore, to influence them, you must master the theater of appearances. You must learn to show what they want to see, while keeping the truth as your secret weapon. Think about how this plays out in your own life. How often have you revealed your true thoughts, only to see them used against you? How often have you believed in transparency, only to realize that others interpret your honesty as weakness? Machiavelli would tell you, control your image, or someone else will define it for you. Every gesture, every word, every silence creates an impression. And in a world where people are ruled by perception, that impression can decide your fate. Yet do not misunderstand. Machiavelli did not encourage cruelty for its own sake. He did not advise endless deceit. He argued that cruelty, when necessary, should be swift, decisive, and never repeated unnecessarily. Mercy should be real when it serves stability. The point is not to be evil, but to be effective, to see clearly what is required, and to act without hesitation. Weakness, hesitation, or misplaced kindness can be more destructive than any calculated act of severity. Because when others sense weakness, they exploit it. And when order collapses, everyone suffers. There is a psychological depth here that resonates far beyond politics. Machiavelli understood the hidden drives of human behavior, the need for security, the pull of fear, the hunger for advantage, the tendency to betray when it is convenient. These forces shape families, businesses, communities, and nations. To ignore them is to be blindsided. To study them is to gain an edge. This is why Machiavelli's teachings are still feared. They empower the individual who dares to face human nature without illusions. Consider this. If you truly applied Machiavelli's lens, how would you change the way you deal with others? Would you still give your trust so freely? Would you still reveal your vulnerabilities to anyone who asks? Or would you begin to observe more carefully, to speak less and listen more, to measure the motives behind every smile and promise? Machiavelli pushes you to realize that intelligence is not measured by knowledge alone, but by the ability to see what lies beneath the surface. In truth, his philosophy is not about domination. It is about survival in a world where naivety is punished. And survival requires balance, knowing when to strike and when to step back, when to reveal and when to conceal, when to inspire and when to intimidate. The danger lies not in learning these principles, but in ignoring them. Because whether you acknowledge it or not, others are already using them. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many opportunities in your life have slipped away because you did not understand the hidden game being played around you? How many times have you been blindsided because you believed people acted out of pure goodwill? This is the essence of Machiavelli's gift. Once you see the hidden mechanics of human behavior, you can no longer be manipulated so easily. You begin to anticipate, to prepare, to shape outcomes rather than simply endure them. And yet, Machiavelli also knew the cost of this knowledge. To see clearly is to lose innocence. To understand the darker aspects of human behavior is to carry a burden. For once, you know how easily people can be swayed, how fragile loyalty is, how quickly admiration turns to envy. You begin to see shadows, even where others see light. This can be isolating, but it can also be liberating, because to see the truth is to finally be free from lies. In a sense, Machiavelli is not teaching you to become ruthless. He is teaching you to become awake, to stop assuming that the world operates on ideals, and to start navigating it as it is. This awakening can be dangerous because it gives you a power others fear, the ability to read intentions, to influence outcomes, to act with precision, while others stumble in blindness. That is why this knowledge has been demonized for centuries, not because it is false, but because it is too true and too useful for those willing to accept it. So, let me ask you, are you willing to accept it? Are you willing to trade comforting illusions for a sharper, sometimes colder vision of reality? If you are, then you are already walking the path Machiavelli opened 500 years ago. A path where clarity is both a weapon and a shield. A path where you stop waiting for the world to be fair and start shaping your place within it. If Part 1 revealed the surface of Machiavelli's thinking, then Part 2 forces us into the labyrinth beneath, a place where morality, ambition, and survival twist into forms most people cannot bear to look at. The first trap Machiavelli warns us about is the arrogance of moral purity, the belief that because your intentions are good, your outcomes will be good. History disproves this every time. Entire kingdoms have fallen, companies have collapsed, and families have shattered because their leaders clung to ideals when reality demanded adaptability. Goodness without strength is fragile. Strength without wisdom is reckless. Machiavelli's genius was in showing that true power comes from the balance of both, knowing when to bend and when to remain unshakable. But there is another, subtler trap: the ego's hunger for recognition. Many people believe they seek influence to accomplish noble goals, yet what they crave deep down is validation. They want to be admired, respected, even feared, not for what they can achieve, but for what it says about them. And so, they make decisions not for effectiveness, but for image. They reject compromises that would ensure victory because they cannot bear the thought of appearing weak. They take unnecessary risks simply to prove they are bold. Machiavelli saw through this. He understood that the most dangerous enemy to a ruler or to any individual seeking to navigate power is their own pride. Pride blinds you. It makes you predictable, and predictability is the death of strategy. Here lies the paradox. You must care deeply about how you are perceived, but you must not be enslaved by it. You must cultivate an image that serves your goals, but never fall in love with that image. Because the moment your ego takes ownership of it, you will make decisions to protect it instead of advancing your purpose. Machiavelli's advice to rulers, to be both fox and lion, speaks exactly to this. The fox knows when to hide, to deceive, to avoid traps. The lion knows when to show strength and force. If you are only a fox, you will be seen as weak. If you are only a lion, you will be trapped by your lack of subtlety. The mastery is in becoming both, switching between cunning and force as the moment demands. But becoming both fox and lion requires something rare: self-awareness. You must know your own tendencies, your weaknesses, your triggers. If you are naturally bold, you must discipline yourself to be cautious when needed. If you are naturally cautious, you must force yourself to strike when the opportunity appears. Machiavelli teaches that power belongs to those who can step outside their own impulses and act according to what the situation demands, not according to what feels comfortable. This is a brutal skill because it demands the death of your automatic self. It demands that you betray your own habits for the sake of your larger strategy. And this is where most people fail. They want power, but they do not want to change themselves to obtain it. They want influence, but they still cling to comfort. They want control, but they refuse to give up the patterns that keep them predictable. The result? They are outmaneuvered by those willing to make the internal sacrifices they are not. This is why Machiavelli's wisdom feels dangerous. It is not dangerous because it teaches harm, but because it demands transformation. It asks you to let go of illusions, even the ones you cherish most about yourself. There is also the uncomfortable truth about loyalty. Machiavelli tells us plainly, loyalty is not permanent. It is not bound by morality. It is bound by interest. People will stand by you as long as it benefits them, and they will abandon you when it doesn't. This is not cynicism. It is observation. Think of how alliances in your own life have shifted. Friends who were close until you could no longer offer them what they wanted. Colleagues who supported you until your success threatened theirs. To Machiavelli, this is not betrayal. It is the natural order of human behavior. Understanding this frees you from the shock and bitterness that paralyze others when loyalty fades. It teaches you to prepare for the moment when alliances dissolve and to keep building new ones before you need them. Now here is another paradox. While loyalty is unstable, trust remains essential. Not because people are inherently trustworthy, but because mutual trust is the currency of cooperation. The trick is to trust with awareness. You do not place blind faith in others. You place conditional faith, rooted in mutual benefit. You do not demand eternal loyalty. You create ongoing reasons for loyalty to exist. In this way, you turn relationships into evolving agreements, rather than fragile vows that shatter under pressure. Machiavelli also warns against the danger of underestimating the role of fortune. Fortuna. Even the most skilled strategist will face moments where luck plays a part. But while most people see luck as something random, Machiavelli understood that fortune favors those prepared to seize it. This is where virtù returns, not as moral virtue, but as the force of will and readiness that allows you to take advantage of an opportunity the moment it appears. Fortune, in his eyes, is like a river, unpredictable, often destructive, but capable of being channeled if you build the right dams and levees before the flood comes. If you wait until the waters rise, it is already too late. This is why complacency is lethal. In the moments of greatest stability, when everything seems calm, Machiavelli would tell you that is when you should prepare most urgently, because calm is the mask that chaos wears before it strikes. Most people make the opposite mistake. They relax when things are good, they stop watching, they stop adapting. And when the storm comes, they are caught naked and unprepared. The Machiavellian mind never stops preparing. It never assumes stability will last. It treats every peace as temporary and every ally as a potential rival, not out of paranoia, but out of realism. One of the most controversial aspects of Machiavelli's thought is his acceptance of fear as a tool. Modern culture worships the idea of being loved, admired, and universally liked. Machiavelli dismantles this fantasy with surgical precision. Love is fragile because it is tied to emotion. It changes with circumstances. Fear, on the other hand, if managed correctly, creates a predictable boundary. It is not about cruelty. It is about establishing a line that others know not to cross. If people both love and fear you, you have achieved something rare. But if you must choose, fear will serve you more reliably. The key, however, is control. Uncontrolled fear breeds hatred, and hatred seeks revenge. Managed fear, paired with occasional generosity, inspires respect without breeding rebellion. But perhaps the deepest insight Machiavelli offers is this: the greatest power is invisible. The person who appears to hold power is often not the one making the final decisions. The true strategist hides in plain sight, influencing outcomes without appearing to do so. This protects them from direct attack and allows them to work in the shadows while others take the risks. You may think of this as manipulation, but Machiavelli would call it prudence. When you are unseen, you cannot be easily targeted. When you control the levers without sitting on the throne, you avoid the spotlight's dangers while enjoying the benefits of influence. So, what does this mean for you? It means you must decide whether you seek the appearance of power or the reality of it. The appearance will feed your ego, but make you vulnerable. The reality will often be quieter, less glamorous, but far more secure. Most people cannot resist the appearance. They want the title, the recognition, the applause. The few who choose reality over appearance hold power long after the applause fades. And here is where Machiavelli's philosophy becomes almost spiritual in its discipline. To master these principles, you must master yourself. You must discipline your impulses, guard your words, and measure your actions. You must study people with the same intensity others waste on entertainment, reading their patterns, their desires, their fears. You must learn to think 2 or 3 moves ahead in every interaction. And you must accept that this awareness will set you apart. That while others live in the comfort of illusions, you will live in the clarity of reality. That clarity is both a gift and a burden, because once you have it, you cannot go back. You cannot pretend not to see the games people play, the masks they wear, the weaknesses they hide. You will see ambition in a smile, fear in a compliment, resentment in silence. And while this knowledge will make you harder to deceive, it will also make it harder to connect without caution. This is the double edge of becoming dangerously smart. You trade innocence for insight. Machiavelli understood this trade. He accepted it. And if you choose this path, you must accept it too. You will not be able to change the nature of people, but you will be able to navigate it. You will not be able to make the world fair, but you will be able to secure your place within it. You will not eliminate the role of fortune, but you will be ready when it knocks. And in a world where most are unprepared, that readiness is the ultimate advantage. Now that you understand the hidden mechanics of human behavior, it's time to bring this knowledge into your daily life. Machiavelli's lessons are not just theory, they are tools, and like any tool, they must be wielded deliberately, with precision, and with full awareness of their power. The first step is observation. Begin watching the people around you with careful attention, not judgment. Notice their gestures, the words they emphasize, the promises they make and break. Pay attention to who speaks boldly and who hesitates, who seeks approval and who quietly pursues advantage. Every interaction is a window into motives, and every motive is an opportunity to understand the unseen currents shaping your world.